Thanks, Dana. Okay. As said before, a great group of inductees. I look over at Ken and I remember the days playing at Guelph when we battled with Brock that year. Great year that year, great ride. I just want to tell everybody I'm very honored and very humbled to receive this award. You know, at my height, I never thought that I was meant to play basketball. I wasn't accepted playing basketball because I was so, every time people would see you, they'd look at you, this little guy, what can he do? But, you know, when the game was over, you left a different impression on him. I want to thank, first of all, I want to thank my mom, my dad, my parents, my family. They went through a lot of things with me, a lot of different situations, going to university. You know, going out to Simon Fraser, I had a really rough ride my first week, and there was a lot of situations that happened out there. But they were there to help and guide me, and I got myself back on track. I want to thank my brothers and my sisters, because I was the last child. I have 2 brothers and a sister, and they turned me into a fighter. I had to fight for everything, so they made me the fighter that I was. And I think a lot of the fight that came out of me, I was a hockey player before I started playing basketball. I played hockey for 6 years. And hockey's a contact sport, so when I started playing basketball, I wasn't really afraid of contact, and I wasn't afraid of contact, like I said. So that really helped build and shape the character of who I was. I'd like to thank, you know, players that I've played with and played against, pushed me to the highest level, made me the player that I was. I'd like to thank the coaches that I passed through in my lifetime, you know, at Runnymede, John Petroshak, Bruce Mason, Paul Melnick. He was involved as a trainer then, and he wasn't a basketball player, but he got so inspired by our program at Runnymede that he took the coaching level to a whole higher level, and he's got this successful program at Father Henry Carr that he's doing great things for a lot of kids out there. So, you know, kudos to him and what he's doing. Coaches at Simon Fraser, you know, Stan Stewartson, Jay Tirano. Stan Stewartson was a man that really believed in me. Like, I don't know how he would look at a guy my size and have the belief to come and lead his team. He recruited me for 2 years when I was in grade 12 and 13. He wanted me to come in grade 12, but I said, no, I want to challenge for the officer championship again. We won one, and I'd like to challenge for another one. So I ended up going afterwards, and he gave me a full scholarship. And I don't know anybody else who believed in me more than that man there. He passed away a couple of years ago. And at Simon Fraser, I only found this out when he passed away, that first year when I was having the troubles and I came back and got myself back on track, we had a 26-win season, and that record stands to this date. And I only found that out a couple of years ago when he died, and it was really a shock to me that I found that out. So I was real proud of that accomplishment. And then when I came back and went to Guelph, I'd like to thank the coaches at Guelph, Tim Darling, and his coaching staff. You know, we had a great run that year for the national championship final, and we lost in the final, unfortunately, to Western. But it was a great run. I was going to go play some pro ball afterwards. I was born in England, and I had my passport, and I was in contact with a couple of teams. So after I graduated from Guelph, I said I was going to test out the job market for a while, and if that didn't work out, then I'd go over to England and make contact with some of these teams. Fortunately for me, about 4 years after I graduated from school, I got hired at the Region of Peel in Human Services, and I've been there for the last 27 years. So I didn't get to chase my hoop dreams, but I believe that I made the greatest decision, because if I didn't take that decision, my son would not be around now, and he's the pride of my life right now. And I'm hoping that him and the fellows that I coach can draw some inspiration from this. So like I said, I'm very humbled to receive this award, and I thank you all for acknowledging me. I thank Dana for what he's put into it. And I like to see all the faces here. There's my friend Noel Morgan. He went to Central Tech, and he was out at Simon Fraser with me. And I ended up living with him. Like, I'll tell you what happened. The first 6 weeks that I was out there, I was a bit overwhelmed being away from home, homesick. And me and Tony Marcatulio from Windsor, he was out there as well. He wasn't liking what was going on. We wrote the coach a note and slid it under his door one night. And we jumped on a red-eye flight, and we flew back to Toronto. I didn't even have any money for a plane ticket. Tony paid for it out of his OSAP money. My dad wrote him a check when he got back at the airport. So I'm back here in Toronto now, and I think I needed to do that because I needed to get away from the situation to see what was really going on. So I was back home, found out that I wasn't really missing anything. And all this hard work I put in all my life to get this full scholarship, I just threw it out the window. Stan Stewartson believed in me so much that he didn't closed my courses, and he was on the phone asking me to come back. The first couple of days that I left, he asked me to come back, and I went and I talked to John Petroshak, and I talked to some of the people who I was grounded with, and you know, I said I'm going to go back and give it a shot, and I went back. He didn't want Tony Marcatulio back there, but he took me back, and I don't know, that just, you know, Stan Stewartson died a couple of years ago, like I told you, and he wrote a book, and he called it The Secrets to My Success, because he was a very wealthy man, and his family has very great roots in the Vancouver area. So he saved the chapter, his basketball life chapter, and he wrote about the nightmares he had that week that I went home. And he said, but you know, if I had it all to do over again, I'd make the same choice with him. And when I read those words, I was like, it brought tears to my eyes. So getting back to Noel, he was a part of getting me back on track, because when I came back to, part of the reason why I wasn't fitting in well and stuff, living in the dorms, and that wasn't really me. And Noel lived in a house with other football players from Central Tech, and I came back and I moved in with them, and I felt like I was home again. So everything fell into place. And you know, they put a disciplinary action on me for the year there, that I would have to, you know, stay in classes, get my marks, come to practice, and I'd start to play at Christmas time. So after the first game, Simon Fraser played, and the results weren't great. The two captains went to the coach and said, you know, he's been practicing well, let him play. And he lifted the disciplinary action, and I started to play. And, you know, after the first game, things went well. I started to get newspaper clippings, and things were going well, and I did well. And after that, I fell into place, and I felt at home, and I had a good 3-year stint there. So I'm glad to see my good friend Noel Morgan here to support me tonight. That really means a lot to me. So like I said, don't want to say a lot. I just like to thank who I like to thank, and I'm really humbled and grateful to receive this award. Thank you very much.